Hi everybody and welcome to Beyond Politics. Today we're going to be discussing the true cost of government on each of our pockets. And it's an aspect I think we don't often think about, and the article is on, what is it on? Business Tech. And they highlight a very important statement made by an economist, and that is the true cost of government actually isn't the tax it takes from us, but the amount of money it spends.
And has to print to keep on spending. So the headline for this article, and this is very important, you'll get a link in the description below this video as well as in the first comment. The government is secretly taking money from South Africans. And a lot of people might not understand that, but we will explain now how the government just printing more money actually is taking money out of your pocket. And we've got some interesting stats, and there's interesting graphs in this article that you can go and look at to actually see how your spending prowess has been eroded. And I'm sure you, and especially the women that like spending money on various things, and the guys that like to buy fancy cars and all the rest, are going to be upset that the value of the rand has degraded significantly.
I'd like to know though, before we get into the article, how do you think your life would be different if we had this fantasy ideal government that actually does its job and gets smaller and is limited and doesn't make stupid laws, and you actually
that take our freedom away, especially
supports a strong society with a strong economy? How different would your life be? I know it's not something we can tangibly know for sure, but what would you be doing differently, and how will you be living your life? Because I think it's a discussion I have a lot with my children, how life will be different when there's a different government in place.
And a lot of people don't think it's possible, and they just carry on thinking that they can make that difference, and you absolutely can.
A lot of people move overseas. I don't think that's the answer, because there's other issues. There's global influence.
Oh, the same thing. Other countries print money at an even faster rate, like the US.
US is in more debt than South Africa, and
Way
they have
more.
a lower voter turnout than South Africa.
Yep.
So other countries, the grass is not green on the other side, but I do often try to envision this fantasy land where things actually work. And it does seem like a fantasy right
People
now.
will just see that you are
But
in
what
la
would
la
life,
land.
I mean, life could be so much better.
Yeah, it can be different.
For everybody.
But the whole concept of government, the way it is set up in South Africa with our constitution, that actually supports a reserve bank, that actually prints more money, is the problem. So we need to change the governance system completely, which means changing our constitution. But let's get into the article. Secret way the government takes money from citizens. There's a lot more described in the article, but we're going to get to the crux.
Yeah, so most South Africans don't even consider the money supply and inflation when debating state spending and raising of taxes. So obviously raising of taxes has been a hot topic.
Yes.
And we might see VAT increase by a small percentage or half a percentage soon. That's definitely not the answer. People need to actually think about reducing the cost of government on people, not taking more from the citizens.
The ANC know that they'll lose more power if they do that. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and a fiscal cliff is in the offering, because that's the only way this is going to go. There is no good ending to how they are doing things right now.
So Milton Friedman said that the actual tax on people is what the government spends, not what the tax it collects.
That's beautiful.
It is. And, you know, governments have a deficit because they often end up spending a lot more than the tax they collect, and then they have to figure out how they're going to make up the shortfall and enter printing of money. That's
Exactly.
what's happening. So there's some interesting stats. Maybe you can go.
Yeah, when the government spends more than it collects in taxes, known as a deficit, it must find a way to finance that spending. As Lauren said, they'll just printing money. Print money, and printing money is a popular way for the government to fund its spending. However, this strategy has consequences, and it's always in the long run. You know, your children that's going to be stuck with a problem. Excessive money printing causes inflation and erodes the purchasing power of money. Because of this, the money people earn and save can buy less, and that is the crux at the end of the day. Okay. So this is a hidden tax, the printing of money. And he explained that this hidden tax is not only confined to the rich. The weaker currency affects all citizens. And it's the same as them increasing VAT now, where it would affect everybody. If that happens, this affects everyone. It raises the question of how much money the South African government has been printing over the last 30 years and what effect it has had on inflation. And I don't think this has been a broad subject up until now. So South Africa's total money supply increased from 244 billion only rand in 1994 to 5.1 trillion in 2023, a 21-fold increase over 3 decades. So 21 times more money in circulation, and the Reserve Bank determines things like that, and the Reserve Bank is not elected by us. Actually has nothing to do with government. It's something that was instituted by the Rothschilds back in the day, and I've covered that extensively with the people on this channel, and you can go and watch my Moments in Time series of videos in that playlist to actually see what happened and how that came about. South Africa's average inflation rate since 1994 has been 5.9% per annum. That's average. This means that 1 rand in 1994 had the same purchasing power as 5 rand 20 today. So the rand was more than 5 times more powerful back then than it is today. Can you feel that? I mean, I'm sure most people can actually feel that in their daily lives. That's why you can't buy a house anymore. That's why people buy cars that they actually shouldn't afford.
And people are using credit more than actually paying cash for things.
This erosion in the value of the rand is a secret tax the government imposed on South African citizens to fund its excessive spending. And this needs to become a hot topic. So I really want you to share this video, and then there's 2 graphs underneath where you can actually see that escalating growth. And it's not linear, people, it's getting worse.
Yes, so that's not going to be fun when we see that drop off.
Well, they don't have any choice but to do this now, which leaves us with an even worse situation.
So more money's been printed, but also government has gotten bigger and government has gotten more expensive. And we've seen this when government has to tender for specific items like toilet paper, how much more they end up paying instead of if they had to go to a shop and pick it up themselves.
I want these GNU parties to actually say that we need to cut the size of government immediately, make it a lot smaller. We'd love to hear that,
but we'd also love to see it being put in practice, because it's one thing to say, it's another thing to do.
They often say things, and at the end of the day, back at the ranch, the same thing continues, because the person's only there for 5 years or whatever term they have, and then they're gone. And they don't care about what happened to you. Most of these people are ignoramuses that we have in government. I'm talking about all of them. All of the GNU parties. If you look at the people there, they are changing nothing to improve the country. They're not putting more power stations in the pipeline for us to actually have sufficient energy supply. They're not fixing the water infrastructure so that we can actually have clean potable water to drink. They're not sorting out the sewage removal. They're not sorting out the rainwater drain system. So you get flooding all over the place. All of these things that we've spoken about before, especially in our citizens empowerment training, are just neglected countrywide.
Yeah, of course. Well, they are enjoying their salaries and they're enjoying making decisions. They're enjoying the power, but there's
where
no governing
they're going to go when the citizens actually start to rise up. And there are some people openly calling for a revolt, a citizens' revolt.
I don't see that happening. One of them. Honestly, I don't see that happening because people have become, sorry to say, but absolutely complacent and useless. That is what the sum of our modern Western society has resulted in. Useless, spineless people who will just rot and let government take all their power away. That's what we're sitting with. We hope on this channel we have raised a small group of people that care about freedom and will fight to the death to maintain that freedom against the global powers that are controlling our government and pillaging our resources.
Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Share this video. Comment so that the algorithms can help share this with many more people. But sharing is really important. Talk about this when you have your next family gathering. The fact that our government is doing this to you, and tell us how you feel in the comments about the fact that they have carried on printing money at an unprecedented rate and will probably do so again in future.